Welcome to my channel. I'm Kidest, and in this video, I'm going to share some background on myself, my brand, my work, and all of that good stuff. So my name is Kidest Mengistu, and my brand name is Kidest Om. Now, when I started sharing my insights and my perspective on consciousness, the nature of reality, back in the day on Myspace, I started getting questions, comments on my blogs, asking me in-depth questions about the things that I was blogging about. At that time, I didn't have a website. I didn't have, any kind of online presence besides my personal Myspace account. And my brand, the organic birth of my brand, so to speak, came from that, from people engaging with my insights and my blogs, asking questions and, you know, commenting and replying to comments and creating more blog posts to answer the questions that I was getting, that my brand came into existence. And I actually didn't have to think too much about it. Initially, I was, I just had Kidest Mengistu as what I wrote blogs under. But when I decided to really create space for my insights, my sharing, my perspective on consciousness and the nature of reality and psychology, I, sat with what I wanted to name the container that was going to house my work. And what came to me was this very simple conclusion. And at the time I was studying quite a bit of esoteric Eastern teachings about how the first sound of the universe was Om. And I was sitting there, I was like, if the first sound of the universe was Om, then wouldn't that make my last name Om as the, expression of this original primal sound of the cosmos? So, like, that's how I came to the conclusion of containing my work in that essence of, sort of a cosmic lineage of sorts. And it worked for me. It served the purpose of, allowing me to be Kidest Mengistu, the woman, the all of the things that make me me, and then to have this container where I provide expansive and depth expressions and insights that are focused on the expansion of consciousness, conscious evolution, the evolution of the individual, the evolution of the collective, and all of what I now express and share in that container. So my name is Kidest Mengistu. My brand is Kidest Om. So everything I teach under Kidest Om. Now I actually have, I think, one publication under Kidest Mengistu from when I was working in the field of psychology, but everything else I write under my brand name. So that was the organic birth of my brand. From there, I launched my website and social media pages and the like, and that became how people know me. So, my family, friends, my partner know me as Kidest Mengistu. And my readers, when people talk about me, they go, Kidest Om. I'm like, that's fine. That's my brand name. That's what I write and publish under. And that's what houses all of the insights and teachings that I share on my channel. So that's a bit of background on my brand. When my calling became clear, my purpose, which is a purpose and a sense of commitment that I also choose, it came in a number of different ways. The first was I had gone on to pursue a master's in social work after graduating from the field of psychology for my undergraduate degree. And I had this very otherworldly experience at a subway station in Toronto, underground subway station, where I still don't really know how to describe it. It was a very expansive moment, very synchronistic, very, I call it otherworldly because it was a non-ordinary moment. I experience synchronicity all the time now, but it didn't have that kind of suspended animation quality to it. And it was one of those moments where I recognized what I was being called to contribute and what I choose to contribute to the expansion of human consciousness on the planet, to the evolution of the individual and the collective. That was one of those moments I don't think I'll ever forget it because it was very poignant, very, I'll keep saying the word non-ordinary. I don't like using the word surreal because I was I was grounded and present, but I recognized it was an expansive moment, a moment of higher dimensional communication, if you will. So that was one of those moments. It was shortly after that that I dropped out of the Masters in Social Work program that I was in because I really recognized that where I was going to contribute was in a different path and a different avenue than being or becoming a caseworker within the field of social work. So I left the school and I started, this path. Now, I still worked for a significant amount of time while I wrote my books. I had a full-time job. It just worked out that I could do both the participation in the kind of work that I really enjoyed, which was leadership and technology at the time, and also expand this aspect of my life path, which is to teach, to coach, to educate on what helps human beings really experience the co-creative power that they can be capable of experiencing in a grounded, effective, and enjoyable way. So that was one of those moments. And the second was when people started buying my books. So I wrote my first book, which actually isn't available anymore, and had published it on Lululemon, or not Lulu, on I think it's called Lulu. It was an ebook publishing site, and I had called it something like Journey to Self-Discovery or something, and had written different experiences I've had on expanding my consciousness, sort of awakening to my multidimensional nature. And I didn't know much about marketing at the time. This was early on, before I really started to learn the world of self-publishing and organic and paid marketing and all of the stuff that I learned later. But I had published this ebook and people started buying it. I was like, huh. So my MySpace blog was, just something I just freely did that people engaged with. And then I felt inspired to sort of put all of my insights at that time into a short ebook. And people started buying it. I was like, this is actually this is actually like a path that I can do where I can also get, paid for my work, my insights, my IP, so to speak. So that was the other indicator that this was a, a legit path that I could expand my creative self-expression and expertise on. So those were these sort of two poignant moments where I recognized that this was going to be a part of my calling.